Oh, I thought you meant the ghost story that we had watched from A24.
Oh,
I was
no.
like, what, is the swing set gonna have a note that just says, live?
Get wrecked, sucker.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and Itisdpayne.
Life is brief. All in love. The English does not translate as fun as
The
the...
Japanese now.
And I don't know how to say Japanese normally.
But yes, if you guys haven't picked... I would be surprised if you figured out what movie we watched just from that. That would be impressive. You must be bigger film heads than we ever were. But...
I will say that thing I sent you before, earlier today, not today, this week, of once again, maybe next year doing that. The more I think about it and ruminate on it, I do like the film idea, but we're still...
You have like 6 more months.
I know, but I also found out, sorry to interrupt, but my brain won't let me shut up for a second. I found out that, what was it? The June 2nd, we are now closer to 2050 than we are the year 2000.
Gross.
Thanks,
Yes.
TikTok.
Thanks for making me feel old. But that's okay.
Woo!
To make us feel even older, we're watching a 73-year-old movie. Or watched a 73-year-old movie.
Is it that old? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it came out in 52.
Yep, at least that's what the Wikipedia says.
Yeah, but alright, you guys have had 2 major hints. Guess the movie or read the title.
Yeah, I was like, or you could just look down. Thank you. Or to the side, or open up whatever you listen to on.
Yeah, so this is week, 3 of 5 for our Akira Kurosawa movies. And it is interesting. So originally, this Ikiru was going to be before Seven Samurai, but we had the holiday weekend. And you're like, if I'm watching a 3.5-hour long movie, at least let me have a long weekend. And I was like, that's fair. So we swapped these two. And I think between the same actor being in Rashomon and Seven Samurai, I was like, okay, he's going to be here. And I was like, oh, this is really somber. Which isn't bad. I was just like...
I was talking about this movie with on stream, and I was like, I didn't realize Takashi Shimura, who is the main actor in both Seven Samurai, and Ikiru.
Kind of in Rashomon, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize he was in Rashomon until, like, I was like, wait a second. Like, seeing him for the third time.
Oh,
Like,
I know last episode I was like, sorry, Woodcutter, I was talking about Rashomon. You're like, oh, okay.
yeah, I think I said okay, and I was like, yeah, he's in there. And then my brain didn't register it until, like, watching this movie. But it's insane thinking about it, because, like, I think of actors now who are in multiple movies, and this is nothing against them personally, because I can't act. It takes a lot of work and skill and time and practice to do that. But whether it is just how movies are cast today, where it feels like actors definitely get typecast, but then it also feels like, hey, you were good in this style role, so we're going to keep putting you in these style roles.
They don't want to take risks or anything like that, yeah.
Or they do, and their management is telling them no. While Shimura here is like, in just the 3 different roles, they are completely different vibes, acting styles, just everything. Like, the woodcutter is like this nervous, like, storyteller that is just constantly, like, jumping around and everything. And then seeing him as a, like, proud, strong warrior, like, tactically smart and intelligent and just making all these plays.
The very strong silent
Yeah.
type.
but like is leading, and like he doesn't speak often, but when he does, it's very much like firm and demanding, as a leader should be. Then compared to this, like he's hunched over, is he the way he just carries himself looks like he's like drained of all energy and everything, and he's
And
like,
not a spoiler. It happens. We know in the first 2 minutes.
yes, but it's just like the way he walks and everything is just, he looks like a decrepit old man, and then just like comparing Seven Samurai.
Yeah, he also has such a good 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, but it's like in Seven Samurai, he's just like, oh yes, my good friend, you look like a merchant, blah blah blah. I guess we won't die today. And then in this, he's like, hey, can you listen to me? Do it.
This is the only like gift from the movie that like I can tell is from the movie. There's another one that has text written over it. Mm-hmm. This part is my favorite part.
Yes.
Speaking of him just playing the part of like quiet old introverted man versus like Seven Samurai, he's very much a like he's like he says the right thing at the right time to the right person, like a very good motivator and things like that. Like his one-liner that we joked about being such a good line where he's like, you said he would be helpful in hard times, you didn't say he would be the hard times. I'm like, wow, what a smart guy. What a crazy smart guy. And then in Rashomon, he's frantic and he's like, no, there was no dagger. What dagger? No, I've got like 6 kids to feed. What's another kid? And they're like, yeah, you take the baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it would be fun, maybe at the end when we do the final movie, to be like, okay, what were like the top 5 movies that stood out from watching all these movies? If
oh, you mean like as a halfway point?
No, like when we finish all the directors and everything.
Oh, I thought you just meant at the end of the Kurosawa month.
Oh, no, yeah, sorry, I wasn't clear. Like at the end of 2024, sorry, I was looking up information and I needed last year's stuff. The end of 2025, before we, actually, it might work well with what we were planning on how ending the year. But yeah, it might be fun to just be like, hey, here are the top 5 movies that really stood out, like from this watching these just different directors and their work. I don't know. We could write on the list.
It's a summary, yeah.
Yeah.
A good way to wrap up.
Or do it at the end, because I think if I remember the list, the last movie on there probably could be tossed in at the end there, or it can be done whenever. But anyway, welcome to, once again, planning pointless discourse where things are constantly in flux. But I don't know. The only thing that I was like, oh man, this would be funny, but it's just like, if my brain just went kapoots. But I don't know. I kind of just want to talk about the movie. I don't have any fun like little antidotes or actually, you know what?
Well, I was gonna say, as you were like talking about like things to do to wrap up this year's, not that we're that close to wrapping up this year's, but I also replied to you with an idea to make the next year's idea even more fun. But again, that can be talked about off screen.
I'm going to hold off from reading because my brain will not shut up. I read like the first couple and I'm like, no, I have to stop because that will be all that my brain is going to focus on. But we can talk about it when we're done.
All right. So then do you want to get to dice rolling then? Since we have given this an adequate introduction. So if this is your first episode, welcome in. If you are unfamiliar with how we like to run things, we do our little bit in the beginning Then we roll dice. In the case for this series, we have 12-sided dice because we are watching a director each month of this year. 12 months, 12 directors, a d12. And whoever rolls the highest gets to give a quick summary, like 1 or 2 sentences, no spoilers. And then we
it's
have...
normally Hop.
Statistically speaking, it has been for this series. And then we have some questions we chat about, again, spoiler free. And then we warn you when we go into spoiler town to kind of just yap about the movie as much as we want.
Mm-hmm.
So I rolled my dice.
So did I.
I rolled a 6.
I rolled an 8. An 8.
I don't think there's a way to double check. I have my line underneath my number 6, so I can confirm.
It's a black die and it's kind of dark. So
okay.
I saw it. I was like, well, that's not a 6, is it?
But you are making it more even. So this will be your 11th episode when I've talked for 13 of them so far.
I'm catching up in the back half, baby. All right. So Ikiru, which everywhere I look means to live.
It says it in the intro card.
Yeah. Is pretty much this boring old government worker.
The long pause. I was like, are you going to say boring movie?
No. Yeah, it pretty much lived his life constant through his whole life. Finds out that he has stomach cancer, which forces him to take a different look at how he spent his life and his relationships, and in his final months, to the point where we see beyond his death and his legacy that he left behind. I feel like that's a half decent synopsis.
Yeah. And the only thing I would add is if you've enjoyed anything like Death of a Salesman or things like that, I feel like you would enjoy this a lot because it is told like it does kind of have like 3 parts to it. Like it does feel like it's like a 3-act play. Because
I think 4.
You think 4? Well, I was thinking the first act is the diagnosis and him going loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
Then the second act is him and the young woman. And then the third one is his legacy.
Post-mortem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, because it's his night out is kind of still within like days of him learning.
Yeah, he gets his answer and then goes, I'm going to find the guy. But anyway, before we get into any accidental spoilers. So then, T-Pain, if this is the only movie you watch by this director, would you watch the rest of their catalog?
I'm going to go out on a crazy limb here. But I think this was my favorite movie that not only he has done, but I think it's up there for my favorite movie of the year so far. I really liked this film.
Think it's a really... So, like I said, unfortunately, the first time I tried to watch this movie, it was like yesterday after a really long day and everything like that. So
when you messaged me, I'm like, well, you have fun with that.
Yeah, so it was on me, but when me awake, like, rewatched parts that I knew that I didn't fully digest, I was like, oh, okay. This, like... I know, T-Pain, you've said there's other movies that you've, like, fallen asleep during that aren't boring. It's just you watched them at a bad time. And, like, rewinding it and going back and piecing together a story is really hard. So, like, last night I was like, I don't know what this last half hour is. And then I watched it today and I went, that's a really good last half hour of a movie. So I'm glad I rewatched it. But, yeah, it is, like, me personally, I think I've seen kind of like I like the storytelling of it, but I think the story itself I've kind of liked the pacing in other forms of media, like books and stuff. So I don't know if I'd put it in my top favorites, but I think it is probably the most... I can see this being really underrated because like we talked about how Taika Waititi's movies are like also about the human condition, but this one is almost like even though it's really only about like what the last year of a man's life, it feels like it almost feels like how Malcolm X squeezes in an entire lifetime in a movie. This one manages to take a year's worth of time but give you kind of like this whole man's life in that, and that's really cool. But it is interesting because we have watched some other movies in the catalog, and Akira Kurosawa's range is insane too.
Yes.
Not only his lead actors, maybe that's why he has his actors he likes, because he's like, I know what I'm making, I know who I need, I know he can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's, as I was watching it, like, have I seen and read stories like this before? Yeah. And I don't know. It was like I I guess it was just like the whole, like, it's not like the message of the movie's unique. It's not like the it, cuz like honestly, like, I've seen the story before.
Yeah, I think the part that sold me the most on the movie is what I said is like essentially the third act, the last 30 minutes, that I felt was pretty unique, that I haven't seen done well in other movies. Like you said, the quote unquote like post-mortem, where it really does it. It doesn't even feel like a particular message, but it feels kind of like hopeful that you can have an effect on other people. Granted, the very last 5 minutes, I was like, fuck you guys. But, you know. All talk and no action.
Yeah. So, I'm going to save stuff for the 30-minute Chatamaroo. So.
Fair enough. How much did you root for the characters? You can say if it's only one of them. That's okay.
It was interesting because this movie, for the first 2 acts, I think is a good way to explain
Split it, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't rooting for him. I'm just like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, because then it was almost like me looking at it in a modern, like our modern eyes looking at this film back then. And it's just like I can understand why he would do this. And it's just like he constantly has people like, well, did you tell your family? Did you tell people what's going on? But yeah, so it's got that, and then the second act, I'm like, I like the tail end of it. Like, I thought the beginning of it was interesting, and then like
kind of when his switch flips is yeah,
like, and when he gets to that, but it's just like the middle of it, or like even like the beginning of it, when his family misunderstood why she's here and who she is,
and assumptions, lots of assumptions.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, it was one of those things, like, as time went on, I'm like, well, is this what's is this what's going on? I hope not. Like, I think it's just gonna give him a stroke with the way he's going, if he's gonna pursue anything like that. And it's just but then it was like I just remember just seeing the wall, like the funeral and the altar and everything, and I'm like, oh, I was kind of hoping to see what he did, and not just have people. And then it was like, the way it shows it, I think, is really interesting, as it almost becomes we know the answer, but it's like watching the actors piece and puzzle it out. So
yeah, it's like an extended eulogy almost, because they're all like, it's not a custom that I'm used to, at least when it comes to funerals, because I grew up in like a Catholic and Filipino background, but the funerals I've been to do not feel as lively, so to speak, as the one that they portray in the movie. So I thought that was also kind of cool to see, where you have his son and daughter-in-law and sister-in-law, essentially, sitting there quietly, and you have these businessmen going, wait a second.
Yeah. That's when you just want to, it's like, get out of here.
But yeah, so I can see what you mean. Yeah, I want to say that I thought. Yeah, you've talked before about, like, when we began this series, about how Kurosawa is known for unlikable characters in the human condition, and a lot of people in this movie are really easy to not like, even him as like a main character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you do kind of start to feel bad for him because you can tell that he's doing things out of desperation in the first act, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like you said, the switch flipped for me when he is out to lunch with the young woman and realizes that he doesn't actually enjoy, like, what people say living life is by their definitions.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then after that point, when he's like running, and I thought it was a really cool scene where, again, not to get spoilery, but like cinematically, that he's like running off to do something and you have everybody cheering, and then you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they're welcoming the actual birthday girl versus like.
Yeah. No, I like that scene a lot too.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd say like I it was one of those, like, I didn't learn to root for him until the very end, and I feel like I have that perception sometimes even of real people, interestingly enough, where sometimes by word of mouth you hear like, oh, so and so might have founded this foundation, but he did it by these like less than great means, or he had a terrible background. But then you go and like read about them some more and you go, oh, they had something happen to them where they went, maybe I should actually do something instead of just sit around. And it feels like that kind of same story arc. Like, someone was telling me they worked for a nonprofit that was founded like by a tennis player. And it's like, oh, that makes sense. Like, if you struggled a lot and then you became a famous tennis player and you want a legacy, you start a foundation. And, like, you know, some celebrities nowadays have foundations, but they don't actually participate in them. They just throw money at them. So I think it's easy to be jaded. So it was fun to kind of see the aspect of him going, like, I am jaded and everyone around me is jaded, but I'm going to use what fight I have left to, like, bring it all together. So then, what grade would you give the plot? I feel like I know your answer already based on how you ranked the movie amongst your favorites.
F. No.
What a twist.
No, I would say like A minus, like B plus, like right around there. Like, as I said, like it's I don't know, just the way, like the way it all came together. Like, even though it's like a lot of things, it's just like, okay. And then, but I don't know. It was just, I can't pin down one exact thing that was like, this is what made, like, because some of these things, like, this is what made this whole story, the script, the shooting. But I don't know, with this one, I think it was just the whole vibe.
Yeah, that's fair. It really does commit to, like, it opens with the narrator telling you what's happening, and it doesn't try and trick you at all. It very much is what the story lays out, which isn't bad. I know some people will be like, oh, that nothing exciting happened. It's like, but, like, you got to watch a journey about a man. Sometimes that's, like, you know, interesting in itself. And I think I landed the same way. There were some parts that, like, I understand why they were emphasized, but I also felt like his night of debauchery was a lot, and then people were like, you've been missing for 5 days, and I was like, did he spend 5 days like throwing up in alleyways? But like, we don't have any like particular sense of time.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I'd say like B plus ish, because also I'm trying to remind myself that even though I feel like I've seen this story before, for all I know, like, Kurosawa has inspired multitudes of people. So maybe the stories I have seen before were loosely inspired by this. Or it's just, there's the other case where this is a very grounded, like, story compared to, say, Rashomon and Seven Samurai. So this one's probably an easier one to feel like, you know, it's a topic that's been discussed and things like that.
Yeah, I think, like, just comparing it, like, Rashomon, like, had a really neat, like, and I feel like
device, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like not that it's that the same, but it's like we sort of get a taste of that in the third act, as different information's coming out and everything, and just who's taking credit for what, and it's just like,
Lots of contradicting. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like Seven Samurai, like I as I said before, like I liked it, but like the more like after a week of watching it, I'm like I really think I would like to watch that movie as like a 10 episode hour long series. And I think I feel like I would appreciate it more because then we could go a little bit deeper into some of the other characters, because there's a lot of characters in there that are important, but there's only so much film time, and I feel like it's like
it could have been expanded on, and especially with him in interviews saying that he wrote full dossiers on every samurai. And I'm like, you could tell they were all really unique characters, but some definitely had a lot more speaking parts than other ones did.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like there's, like, I respect it. I'm glad for the story that it does. But it's just like, I feel like Ikiru is just very self-contained. And like, not that I have to worry about like history of samurai and weaponry and tactical stuff. It's very much like it feels much more grounded, and even though it's from 1950s Japan, I feel like I can still see a lot of these people and know some of these people now.
Yeah, it is a very timeless kind of like way to share this story. Because I was also, like, to your point, too, even though it is from the 50s, not only that, even, like, it doesn't feel, not to say, like, it's a positive or negative, but it also feels like one of those movies where people can watch it and go, oh, I guess people in Japan aren't that different. It's like, yeah, that's what we've been telling you guys, like, this whole time. But other than some of the cultural differences, like I mentioned, like the way that the funeral is, and the viewing is handled culturally, otherwise, yeah, like the terrible, awkward, uncomfortable dealing with doctors, the terrible, uncomfortable dealing with like family, the stuck at work and knowing that you can't get anything done because of the way that work is, you know, all of that feels like really relatable things that transcend, you know, a lot of time and transcend a lot of like borders is not, well, I guess borders is kind of the word, because I know, like, I've talked to people and I'm like, how's your job? They're like, I made a suggestion and they told me that we didn't have the budget for it, so I guess why do I even help? Why do I even try?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think for me, if the third act wasn't told the way it was, I think I wouldn't like the movie as much as I do. But the third really peppers in kind of a cool way to be a fly on a wall, in a way. Like, you do feel like a fly on the wall throughout the first two acts, but the third one especially, where you realize how, unfortunately, how little the people around him knew him.
Yeah.
Even though they, like, work with him every day, even though they live with him, even though they take a lot of his money. Things like that. But yeah, so how likely would you recommend this movie to others?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, I guess the more I look at it, like, there's movies that I really enjoy and I haven't watched them since. Like, the one that I keep thinking of is Manchester by the Sea. I know I've mentioned it before.
Yeah, eventually we'll watch sad movies. Yes.
Yeah, it is a sad movie, and for the most part, this movie kind of it does have the sad vibes until like the end chunk of, like, pretty much when it's all the coworkers talking, then it's like we see once again the legacy. But
it feels like a celebration of life rather than
but it's just like, I don't know. I know not everyone likes sad vibe movies, but I don't know. They hold a special place in my cinematic viewing repertoire. Is that the right word? I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if it can evoke an emotion out of you, then the director and the writers definitely did their job, and the actors.
It's better emotion than a cell.
And it reappears once again.
Yeah,
A prompt that we're gonna have for a potential next series is a sequel to a movie, and I know what you're gonna watch. I don't have to watch it, is all I know. You can watch it. But in any case, yeah, I think this one is a movie I could probably find a bigger audience to be able to recommend it to. I think it'd be easier. Like, I feel like if I could convince somebody to watch Hunt for the Wilder People, I could convince them to watch Ikiru. Yes. Same thing with Jojo Rabbit. Jojo Rabbit, I think, has also kind of is in 3 separate acts in a way. Mm-hmm. So
that's right. I was gonna read that book.
Oh yeah, the one that's not like the movie at all.
Yeah, I couldn't finish. I couldn't remember. I remembered it, and I couldn't find the name of it. And then I was like, "Oh, what's this book?" And I was like, "I'm digging this book. I have no clue why this is in the library because it's not even on Goodreads."
Oh, fun!
Yeah, it is a Chinese light novel.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm like, I've read comics like this, but I'm like, I'm waiting for the bad to happen. But let's just say the translation isn't the greatest, but hey, I'm digging it.
Yeah, as long as you're having fun with it. But yeah, so I guess that's it for questions then. Are you ready for Spoiler Town?
Yes, as soon as I unlock my phone. Again, there we go. Hey, the timer's set. My butt. I'm hitting the button in 3, 2. We have takeoff.
Turn back now if you don't want to be spoiled over a 70-plus-year-old movie.
Or be run over by Spoiler Town Express.
It sounds like Polar Express, and that movie always gave me, like, Uncanny Valley.
I never watched the movie until the niece was watching it, and I still have only seen like bits the beginning and like a little bit towards the end, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on.
Tom Hanks the movie where he plays like how many of the characters?
Yeah, everyone thinks that's original. Eddie Murphy did it a ton.
But just not computerized.
Yeah. So when I was watching this movie, the first act, I had the name and then I lost it. Give me 1 second. Is it? No, I know it's not this. I gotta click. There it is. It gave me huge The Night is Short Walk On Girl vibes.
Yes. Yeah, that is very valid. Except the partying was clear, like, Night is Short Walk On Girl partying seemed really fun. Like,
yes.
with how lively she was, that seemed like a great thing to be involved in because it felt more community driven, minus like some of the stuff towards like her crux and her story. But I feel like I probably, like, my one friend had a bachelorette party in Vegas, and in the beginning I was like him, where I was like, wow, there's a lot of people and there's a lot of lights, and then I was like, wow, it's really loud, I'm overstimulated. Wow, I had some alcohol and now I'm thinking about things, and now this is just really sad and I spent a lot of money. I feel like I had the same exact arc.
Yeah. So, and then, like, I don't know, now I'm just like looking at our holiday, as we call it, the holiday season. I forget what we called this whole series, but it's like the last act, I guess, could also feel like Millennium Actress a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And then the middle one, I don't know, 5 centimeters per second. I'm trying to remember which one that was. Is that the one where the guy wanted to go to space or something?
Well,
wait,
Millennium Actress is the one that, like,
I remember it was from Millennium Actress.
Yeah, you think it's about space, but it's really just about
that isn't 5 centimeters per second is they see a space launch.
They see a space launch, and that's like their connection with each other, despite them being constantly just a little bit apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, Millennium Actress does have the opening scene about the spaceship, and then has like the crux of the plot spaceship-wise. Mm-hmm. And then you just find out it's about a lot of drama. A lot of infighting. I say drama, but she is an actress.
But like while I was watching it, I'm just like, as he's going out and doing all the thing, like, it was pretty. I enjoyed it, but I think I don't know. I guess we can talk about each each act on its own. I think there's like two parts that really stand out to me in Act 1. There's a bunch of like little stuff where it's just like, but I think the one that stands out the most is him in the doctor's office.
Where he's getting the part where he's being told, hey, they're going to lie to you, or the part where he's using the lies and the doctor's like, no, 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 no. Trying to like gaslight him, essentially.
Yeah. And it, like, pretty much that whole scene where it's just like this random dude's just like, oh yeah, and like you can tell he's like, I don't want to hear this, and he's like, well, I got nothing to do, like I'm on my way out, come here, man. I'm gonna tell you. And then he's just there the whole day just stewing in that knowledge, because like the place is pretty busy
and he's like the last person to get called in. I do like the bit where he's like, isn't it wild? He tells you have an ulcer. And then he like slowly turns to the camera and he has, like I said, the really good 1,000-yard stare as he's like getting each new symptom. And he's like, that's gonna be me. That's like...
Yeah. And then immediately it's like, so we found an ulcer, and just drops his jacket like before he's trying to put it on there, and it's just like, because I don't think he talks the whole time, like, until
leading up to that. Yeah, because he has his like, the narrator's just like, when you're stuck in a bureaucracy job, all you care about is not losing it. So he's like, you know.
So it was interesting, like just seeing all like that scene, and then it was like the doctor, like the nurses are asking the doctors like, do you think we should just told him? He's like, he's got like less than a year to live. Like us telling him has like, what's he gonna do? Like, just
it's not gonna like, it's not gonna help him. Or what's the idea I'm sure the doctor has is like, all he's gonna do is be depressed for a year. So like, at least let him eat what he wants and do what he can until then. And then also it's like, historically speaking, this is not too long after World War II, right? 1952. So I'm sure cancer diagnoses were very high during this time.
Yeah. And then it's just like, he goes back in the house and they're just like, oh my goodness, Dad forgot to lock the door, and they're just like complaining about the house the whole time.
How much money they can squeeze out of him.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they like turn on the light and he's just there, and they're just like, never mind.
I don't know, it's like, man, your dad's so creepy. It's like, he looks like he's been crying on the floor. Can you guys like help him?
Well, like the son looks like he wants to, but his wife's like, no, like
he may own the house, but this is our room. Ew. Entitled much.
Yeah, and so so like that part is just like, oh, poor guy.
And it doesn't get better.
Yeah,
at least his relationship with his daughter-in-law and son.
But yeah, so there was that, and what was it? He goes down there, and that's when I think he leaves the house at that point, right? Or is it the next day?
I think it's the next day. I think he does go to sleep, and then like,
that's right. He opens up he looks at his wife. His wife's altar.
He visits her altar, and then like pretends to go to work, and then ends up finding the guy who gave him all the list of symptoms.
Oh, that was the same guy? I didn't realize.
I'm pretty sure it is. At least like outfit wise, because it doesn't take him very long to be like, I'm drinking. He's like, are you sure you should be drinking with like you having like probably stomach cancer? And he's like, I'm gonna die. Just let me go out the way I want to.
Yeah.
And like they do start to have the discussions about like him thinking about like, you know, suicidal tendencies, and he's like, you know what? You've dedicated your last so many years to your son. Let's go. But he asks to spend all of his money in one night.
Yeah, it's interesting because like in each act, there's it pretty much is asking like, what is the meaning of life?
Mm-hmm.
And the in this one, it's just like, hey, you're not here for a long time, so might as well make it a good time.
Yeah, you all the guilty pleasures that you thought you weren't allowed to have, gambling, liquor, women, dancing, you know.
And it's interesting. Oh, sorry, were you about to
I
say
was going to
something?
say because I think again, if it's been a while since you watched the movie or you don't care about Spoiler Town, he was widowed when his son was very young, so he chose to dedicate his entire life to be a single father and be 100% supportive to his son, which makes it even shittier when his son's like in the later act, his son's like, "Wow, we're only going to talk about surface level things that I read in the newspaper." And then his father's like, "I have something to come clean." He's like, "I get it. You sleep with young
Yes,
women." And it's like, ew.
it's like, and yeah, and it's once again like we mentioned it earlier, but it's just like Shimura's like whole Takashi's like his whole presence at that point where he's like it's just amazing thinking of him as like once again the strong samurai to the weak old man. And even though I think they were technically filmed in reverse order, but it's just like he like you can just see him like shrivel up and like curl
Eternal.
inside
Yeah.
himself, and he's just like, I just wanted to tell you what's happening.
Yeah, the daughter's so dramatic. She has to leave the room and like stand in the dark corner while like
Mhm.
his son's yelling at him about his gross ways, and he's just like, I guess I can't be honest with my own family, which, you know,
Yeah,
sad in a different way.
yeah, and so
Yeah, so you have the first guy who's yeah, he's just like, let's go and do everything you couldn't do, because even there's also the clip of the main character's brother going, just get married already, and
yeah,
he chooses not to.
yeah, when he was younger, because I think his son was
Between
graduated or like going. I don't know. He was definitely older.
he says, yeah, his son is married when we start this story, and then I think when they show the flashback, he's maybe between 7 and 10 years old.
When his wife
Yeah.
dies, and then I think when his brother is telling him to go get married again, I thought I remember, and I could be wrong, that his son was getting married.
Oh, so it's one of those like might as well.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you don't have to watch it after your kid anymore. Like, just live life.
Yeah, and then his brother is also weird because he told in the his the main character's son, he's like, "Look, if I was him, I'd be sleeping with younger women." And his wife is
And it's
like,
just like,
"Just because you're gross, yeah,
yeah,
just because you're gross doesn't mean everybody is."
yeah. So, um, but yeah, it is also interesting. In each act, he takes something with them to like help remind them, and like this one's the hat, and it's just funny. Like the hat, like it very much like symbolized like his old way of thinking, his old life, and like everyone's like, I was confused because he has like this pretty much like this type of hat that you wouldn't expect him to have. Like I know they mentioned it, but it's just like
Yeah, they're like, "I didn't recognize you with the new hat," and I was like, "I didn't know you wore the hat so much."
yeah, and so it's just like he has that, and but like it sticks with him, and almost like because the other part, and it's just funny like how attached he becomes to that hat and all the different like the first act where it's because like don't chase that hat, like it's going to cost you more to get it back, we'll get you a new hat, it's okay. And then like how protective he is with like anybody that's close to that hat in the first act where like the girl sits on, he's like, "Give it back," or like she's wearing, he's like, "Give it back," and this is
Yeah,
and then like she sits on it by like whether on purpose or accident, it doesn't matter, and it's just like gets all
snippy.
yeah. But then it's like I feel like that's the other part that really sticks out to me in this first act is when the guy's like definitely playing like the jazz music, and they're just like any request, and that's when he asks to play
The saddest song ever.
yeah, and like he's like, oh well, they call it an old love song, and then he sings it, and it's just like the whole bar just stops and looks at him.
He is
And
sobbing. He is.
yeah, and so yeah, and then they go out to do other things as he goes and has a little vom sesh, and then like once again, as you mentioned, the 1,000-yard stare to his buddy, just like, get going. Like, I'm done here.
He's like, you're the one paying for the ladies in the car, and then the ladies in the car are like, don't be so sad, let's sing. And like the one guy's like still like queasy, and the main character's just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
His head completely in his hands, like, how did I get here?
I don't know, was there anything else in Act 1 that stood out to you?
No, nothing in particular. I understand why the one character was the way he was. Didn't appreciate how he talked about women. Surprise. But like when in some of the posters there is a particular exotic dancer that's like on them, and the one guy's like, look at her, she's not just art, she is sexy. And I was like, yeah, you guys are at like a burlesque show, of course she like is sexually attractive. Is that not why you paid to be here?
Yeah, I don't know, it does also like, did he just not know? Did he just like, hey, come in?
They stumbled into a bar and they were like, oh wow, a lady on a stage.
Yeah, well, like, yeah, because it's like, it feels like his world is like exploding. Like in this first part, he's like, here's all these experiences he never had, because he said he never touched alcohol, and he's like, now I'm touching alcohol. And he's never
gambled, and yeah.
And it's just like he's a child thrown into this world, and it's like, I don't know, the way he's portrayed, I could very much, it wouldn't be too far of a stretch of imagination that the guy's like, oh hey, let's go here, because he's like, yeah, like, she's dancing, she's all right, and he's like, whoa. So.
Yeah, he very much feels like devil on the shoulder kind of character. But yeah, and then like you said, so then I think that's just, you covered a lot from Act 1. So Act 2, he ends up running into like the old coworker, because people start asking around going, hey, he hasn't been at work. And everyone's like, but he's been leaving for work. Where has he been going? And nobody seems to know. And he runs into the one young coworker who scream laughed at work, and everyone shushed her because she was being annoying. But the comic was funny, because they were like, I never want to take, how badly I would love to take vacation from this job, but I don't, because if I do, they'll realize they don't need me.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, boo. She's like, whatever, boring old men. So he runs into her, and like I said, she makes the comment like, oh, didn't recognize you with your new hat, but I need your help putting in my paperwork to quit. He's like, what?
Which starts the rumor mill.
Yeah, about like he's seen with her, and he kind of attaches himself. I think he does it in like I can't dote on my son, and I have all this money, so let me like dote on somebody else that's young and kind of reminds me of who I was when I first started the job. Because she complains about like the job's boring, it sucks your soul out of you, nothing happens, and it's just a waste of time. And the movie does open with him like, apparently, he says, like, 20 years ago, he had, like, an efficiency plan to fix the government, but he gave up on it and just kind of let himself fall into line just because he knew, I can get paid and do no work and just follow the rules. So, he ends up, like, inviting her out to places, inviting her to food. He even tries to do what the other guy did, where he's like, let's go gambling at Pachinko. And she's like, okay. Like, she even starts to get weirded out, where she's just like, it's nice to, like, not have to spend money, but also, like, what are you getting out of this? And I think it's natural for her to get suspicious, because, like, they never talked before this. Not really.
Yeah.
She just knew him better at the office because he used to eat udon noodles.
Yeah.
And she's pretty much the only one that noticed he was sick at all, too.
Yeah, it's interesting, because it's like, he's like, hey, whatever. And then he's like, so easily he falls back into the old way of life. He's like, your form's wrong. And she's like, can you, like,
just stamp it anyway?
Just do it anyway? It's like, she's like, I'll fix it. And just, like, fixes the form and all that stuff. And that's when he notices, like, her stockings are in poor shape. And it's just like, it's like, where can we get stuff? And he's like, oh, like, what do you need? He's like, and then bought him for her and then started taking care of her. And he's like, yeah, I would agree. It's like, from the people who were already wondering, what are you doing? You're leaving, but not going to work. And then it's like that day he comes home with this young girl where it sounds like he doesn't talk about work at all. So it's just like, nobody knows who she is. And like, they don't stay around long enough. He stops in, kind of talk for a little bit and then leave.
Yeah. He gets caught holding her hand by the part-time maid.
Yeah.
And then they all just start gossiping.
Mm-hmm. It would go nuts in Real Housewives of Tokyo.
But yeah, I think a lot of this part of the story is okay for me. I think the part where it picks up is where she says, like, I don't know, I make these random robot toys, and I guess I could pursue that. And that's kind of his takeaway. One of his takeaways from this one, because we do see that little puppy make a reappearance later. But it is kind of cool to see the actor go from, like, man, I took her out to lunch and she doesn't even like talking to me, to going, oh, finding your passions that you used to have like 20 years ago. And then him going, I must go to work. And she's like, ew, all right, bye.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's... But, like, and then he takes the toy, and that's, like, the thing he takes with that. Because at the end, the very end of the movie, when his family's like, I didn't know any of this, like, there's a quick shot of, like, his 25-year service award, the hat, and the bunny.
And yeah, and because they go, wow, where's his girlfriend? She didn't even visit. And then they pop the little animatronic, and then it goes away off screen really quickly.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's pretty much like the whole... There really wasn't much, I guess, in the second act, because it's like him, like,
it's his growth arc.
Yeah, because it's like, it's kind of like the kindling of him starting to care for people again, because it's like he sees her and he wants to help her, take care of her, but then he's realizing, like, I'm not her dad. I'm, like, not related to anything, and it is coming off like
kind of creepy.
Yeah, to the point where he's like, and I think it's just a really great scene that we mentioned it earlier of they're having this talk where he's just like, what's going on? You honestly creep me out with the way you look at me and all this stuff. And like he explains going on while in the background there's celebration of life and everything. And then it's like, while they're celebrating like the girl's birthday and getting ready and all that stuff, like of her getting older, it's like when he leaves and his like drive and focus, it's like he was born pretty much a new man leaving, as he found his purpose and everything. And I don't know, I think I do like the scene where he comes back into work the next day and like everyone's just sitting there just like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, soon I'll become whose hat is this? And then they're just like, oh hey boss.
Yeah, oops, we weren't talking about who's gonna take your place or anything.
Yeah, and he's like, whatever.
We gotta get this park.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, come with me, give me a car.
And they're like, you can't possibly. He's like, I'm going on site.
Yep.
I'm doing it myself. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, this is exactly what we need to be doing. And then we get to the funeral.
I know, they flash, they go, all right, bring the car around to pan out, and it's Ip Man has very similar like setup shot too, where like they cut and you're like, oh, that's a funeral portrait.
Yeah. I like to imagine, mainly because whenever I see those things, mainly because it's anime, he got hit by a car and he isekai'd.
He's in another life, Mr. Parkman, making everybody's park dreams come true. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so...
Or he's killing everybody. I don't know. It could be either case with an isekai.
This is true. But yeah, so we have Act 3, which, like, out of the three, this was my personal favorite. Once I really sat and gave it the rewatch. Because, yeah, you're right. It has, like, Rashomon elements to it, but not in a way to, like, confuse people, but in a way that feels very natural to, like... You know, sometimes I'll find myself talking with my friends about people, like, I used to know, and we start to piece together, like, wait... I remember he posted something on social media. Wait a second. Wait, is he married? And like you start to do this whole like, oh, but last I talked to him, they broke up. And it sounds very much like that, but instead in the setting of it's an interesting like half of the people there want to honor him and the other half want to be like, no, the system's not broken. The system is perfectly fine the way it is. Nobody's a liar. The only reason anything happened is because the mayor was running again. And people are like, are you like invalidating the fact that he had stomach cancer and was running around town like crazy?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I think it was a really good setup where it's just like the mayor deputy and like all his cronies were like, pat myself on the back, I did good. And he may have helped
united the different committees,
but it's like, oh, it wouldn't have happened without us. And then it's like that you see his family there, just like, okay, his son, daughter-in-law, and his brother and sister-in-law, just like, hey. And then it's like, I think at that point, that's when the women's society people come in
and actually feel something for him.
Yeah, and they're just like crying out, and it's just like it ruins their whole like I'm cool vibe to where they're like, well, I had enough, and they're just like, okay, we gotta go, blah blah blah. And like, I think that's also because we also get a hint of it when the reporters come in. They're just like, hey,
accusing the mayor of killing him.
Yeah, and it's just like, that's ridiculous. Like,
really suspicious that a man who actually did the work for the park dies in the park. What do you have to say about that? Nothing.
Yeah. And so, and like for us, the viewer, we know like he was on his way out, but like to everyone else, is like, oh no. And then it's like, no, the doctor had diagnosis. He had had stomach cancer and all that stuff, and it's just like, we don't know if he knew, but yeah, but it's just like, we did the papers. And then we get into what you were saying, where it's just like, we have the one half, it's like, no, we got to do this, and then the other half is like because it's the two people that the girl gives like the very weak and like no backbone nicknames to.
Oh yeah, there's Sea Slug and I'm not remembering the other ones, but Sea Slug stood out to me. Mm-hmm. He's slimy.
Yeah.
The main character was the mummy.
The mummy, yeah. Maybe that's what he isekai'd into. Anyway, but yeah, it was just interesting. Like the two people that were joked about having no spine or anything were the ones like, no, he had to know. Like, and it's everything because, like, as we mentioned earlier, like, oh man, I haven't looked at a sunset in so many blah blah blahs and all these like kind of things. And
okay, the other one was like, don't you resent them for how they treat you? He's like, I don't have time to hate people.
Yeah. And then I think the most powerful one where they're just like sealed the deal for one of them is that he knew, where it was like an empty hallway and he like comes up the stairs to do that and he just sees him like barely able to walk down the hall, gets to the door, straightens himself out and just like weakly knocks on a door, but like walks in with a purpose. And it's just like, oh, something isn't right here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and that's also, there's the other similar scene where he goes up and like the people that want the red light district are like, don't you have any regards for your life? And he's like, huh.
Yeah.
And just smiles at him and they're like, what is he doing? That's not how you're supposed to react when you're threatened.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, okay, old man. Have fun. But yeah, it was like I that whole sequence, because I remember when it showed his funeral, I'm like, no, I wanted to see him do the park. Like, I wanted to
do the dang thing.
Yeah. And then like the way they do it, as we mentioned before, it's just, I think if they did it like almost like showed it like a whole act of him like doing everything, it would have probably felt rushed or too long. I think this was a good like little vignettes of just like where people are like,
He went up to, like, he knocked on doors directly.
Yeah.
He went to the deputy mayor's house. He went to, like, he
sat
sat behind the park administration guy for so long that the guy
Yeah.
was like, fine, I'll stamp it.
Yeah, just leave us alone. And then, like, did that. Like, it sounds like 3 months of this whole project was just awkwardly sitting in different people's rooms until they, like,
gave in. More or less, yeah.
But yeah, it was neat, like, seeing that. And then I was just wondering, like I do like how they figured out that he had, like, that he knew that he had something was wrong with him. Because they're like, this doesn't make sense. Because I kept wondering, like, is the girl gonna come? Because I feel like that's gonna ruin
it? Yeah.
I feel like that's gonna ruin like a bunch of the stuff, because it's like, okay, oh, you were the old coworker and you were dating him? Like,
she's like, no kissing, no hand holding.
yeah.
We were fighting over the forms when you caught us holding hands, air quotes.
Yeah. So.
Is that timer? I see you.
Yeah, it was finished. So I don't know. Was there any other thoughts we wanted to mention? Or?
I will say that like I said, I kind of alluded to it in the beginning. The last scenes with his son and brother were like, well, you guys are supposed to be blood and you can't even, like, pretend to actually feel bad. Because, like, the son's like, I'm upset he didn't tell me he had cancer. And I'm like, I understand that you wanted to be able to, like, have time with him, but also you should have just treated him better and totality. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't resent the fact he didn't share something with you when, like, you guys basically bullied him in his own home.
Yeah.
And treated him like a piggy bank. And then his brother was, like, too much in his own, like, well, this is what I would do if I were him. It's like, well, again, this is why he didn't confide in you, because you would have just kind of bulldozed over him. Because they did seem to have that kind of relationship where even the son was like, uncle, what's wrong with dad? It's like, you could ask your dad. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then the daughter's just like, I'm so sorry. It's like, you were the meanest one, the daughter-in-law. You were the meanest one to him.
Yeah.
And then, because, yeah, our first impression of her is going, I hate Japanese houses. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh,
they're
cool.
They're cold.
They're drafty. I want a Western house.
And one that can withstand a nuclear blast.
Oop.
Oop. They're warm.
And then we have, yeah, and like I said, like, the last 5 minutes of the movie upset me because a big crux of all the drunken men shouting at each other is like, we gotta live by his honor. We can't let bureaucracy sit on its butt, because, like, they make all the comments about how the system sucks. Yes. If you want to empty a trash can, you have to fill out a form to get a new trash can, which is also, like, funny. A lot of, like, clearly, like, biased thoughts about the system and the writing. And then at the very end, the new chief is just like, send him to another committee, and only one of the guys is like, no, we promised we wouldn't be like this anymore.
The mountaintop experience.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I thought the ending was really good. Like, just solidified the whole everything.
Life goes on.
So
I was just mad for his sake, because the very end shot with them at the park and them all screaming and, like, being able to utilize the thing that he brought together, that was beautiful. And then I wanted to send a gif of my favorite cinematic shot is the snowing through the, like, monkey bars and him just sitting on the swing.
Yeah, no, the swing thing, like, I think the ending of that, and then just, like, as you said, him on the swing, which is the movie poster we see. Is it on both? Well, there's a swing on both.
There's the hand-drawn one, yeah.
Yeah. But it's, like, the iconic shot of him singing the
song from the beginning.
Yeah, Gondola no Uta.
This shot I really like.
Yes. Yeah, that was a really neat shot of him. Yeah.
For people just listening, basically the shot is, I don't know if they have these in modern playgrounds anymore. I remember them as a kid. But basically where it's a massive square of metal and you're just supposed to squeeze through different holes left by the gaps in it. they situated it so that that's right next to the swing set, and then the camera starts like by having him framed in the exact center of him, and then kind of just pan over sideways as he's swinging quietly in the freezing cold snow.
Well, and he's singing.
Yeah, and he's singing. I also like the other thing about the third act that I kind of thought was interesting is the idea that the police officer thought he could change anything. Like, they do... even before they do some of the more overt, like, oh, this was planned for him to go to the park, it's funny that the cop was like, I just saw he was an old drunk on a swing in the middle of the coldest day of the year. It's like, you wouldn't help an old drunk on the coldest day of the year, but whatever. You do you, new cop. But on the flip side, if
we
I
watched
was
Tokyo Godfathers.
This is true. But if I was a kid and I went to a park, they're like, the man that helped make this park happen died on this very swing. I would not go back to that park. No offense. I don't think I could go back to the park. I would have thought it was haunted.
It does sound like the start of a good... Oh man, this would be
a ghost story.
This would be a ghost, a ghost story or show or movie or something like that, where it's like, and instead of haunting, he just gives people advice.
Oh, I thought you meant the ghost story that we had watched from A24.
Oh, no.
I was like, what is the swing set gonna have a note that just says "live"?
Get wrecked, sucker.
I understand why they don't show you the note in Ghost Story, but that was such a long movie for nothing.
It felt longer than Seven Samurai, and I think it was only half the length.
Yeah, it was only an hour and a half.
Anyway.
We've watched a lot of movies at this point.
Yes. In short, though, if you guys haven't figured it out, we both really like this movie. You should go watch it if you haven't.
2 thumbs up. So far, I would recommend all of his catalog. It's almost like I could recommend each of these to a different type of person.
Yeah. Faux show. But the fun continues as next week we have Yojimbo.
Back to action.
Yes. And not just only Yojimbo. We have a special guest. Blackjack is joining us for Yojimbo. So, back to action, back to samurais, back to... I don't know anything else about the movie.
The guy, the bandit from Rashomon.
Oh, yes.
Is in it.
Mm-hmm. He's back. The movie is half the length of this.
It's less than an hour and a half.
Oh, never mind. It's a 2-hour movie. Oh, yeah. It's under 2 hours, which... feels weird, but anyway, if you guys enjoyed this, let us know. If you guys watched this movie, tell us what you think in the comments, whether it's on YouTube or I don't know, we'll figure out how to read them on Spotify. But
if there's any movies you think are like this that you think we'd also like, we'll also take the recommendation. Don't recommend us movies like this, Al, for as many times as we bring it up.
Yeah, don't worry. We will unfortunately find movies that are like The Cell by accident. But anyway, thank you everyone for watching. We will see you or talk to you next time. Doodles!